It's the post-match phone-in. It's just me tonight. Mark Ryman couldn't be here. My thoughts go out to him. But this is a bit different because we didn't do a mid-week post-match phone-in. Um, Essentially, it's very tough during the middle of the week. People aren't really, up for it. Let's say, it's a school night. And it's better just to do them Sunday night, especially with double game weeks. It just sort of lets people, you know, get their beauty sleep, which we all need to aspire to look like Rob Edwards. It'd be good to know how many people are in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me because I'm doing everything solo tonight, so it'd be good to have a heads up. Just hit me with a thumbs up if you can hear me, because I can see there are quite a few of you tonight in the chat. So, you know, hit a thumbs up. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm just talking, and that what one thing I've learned from social media is people don't like me just talking. So I'm waiting for the getting it from the person in the green room waiting um to be brought in. So I'm just gonna make him wait a little bit longer, just just to make him Billy No Mates. Look, it's been a really tough week. The Leeds game was severely disappointing. It really was. And then the Norwich game just compounded that because it's like the players just don't care. And then Rob comes out and he starts calling out players. He didn't mention anyone by name. Like, in all fairness, I feel it would have been more sincere had he called out players by name. But it's alarming. For me, it's too little, too late from Rob Edwards. Personally, I feel he should have gone after the Sheffield United game. That's my thought. But of course, and that wouldn't have given us the Watford game. Although who knows, the players just seemed really up for that game. So maybe it would have been different. Maybe the players would have played that Watford game and put them to the sword like we did. But and the news today from Alan Nixon, like whether he's reliable or not, the fact that it's only 1.5 million to can Rob Edwards right now, I think that's good business. It's good business because you know what's expensive? Relegation is expensive, really expensive. And a quote that's always stuck in my mind was Gary Sweet when he was rationalising Graham Jones leaving. He said relegation to League One would be catastrophic, and that was when we had the lowest league, the wage budget in the league. So who knows how catastrophic it would be if we were relegated this season. But right now I've seen 29 seasons of Luton. I've seen 6 relegations, and I'll tell you what, this team is a relegation team because there's no heart, there's no passion, there's no fight. No one gives a shit. So those are my thoughts. I'll bring in Simon. In Tom Lockyer we trust. How are you getting on tonight, Si?
Hello, Billy No Mates. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. As you can see, I'm all by myself.
Where's
So
Ryman?
I just had Ryan. He's got a family thing tonight.
Oh, we'll
So
let him
so
off
he
then. He's not just
yeah
severely
yeah.
depressed.
Well, he was at Norwich yesterday, and all his mates are
Oh,
from Norwich and Norwich season ticket holders. So I think he was a bit miffed, but
poor
that is not the reason he's not here tonight.
guy. I remember, right? I think it was July. We were having a conversation of some kind, and you said Edwards is on fraud watch for me. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. I think that he's going to come good. You remember the conversation, I'm
I
sure,
remember
right?
it so well because I didn't. I would not call out Rob Edwards at the end of last season because, as everyone said, it's a free hit. So I was very careful with who I would tell my thoughts to. I wouldn't put them on social media because, as you know, I'm a pariah as it is.
Oh, God. I
So
get backlash just from talking to you.
so the last thing I was gonna put was my thoughts. And I was actually speaking to Mark the Hatter about it in May. I think it was just after we got relegated, and I said, next season's not going to be good. And I was watching back an old video from before the season even started out, and I watched my Luton Town prediction. I went as high as fifth, and I said, "This is very, very, very generous." And I think I let all the external pundits, I don't want to say brainwash me, but I let them sway me into thinking Luton would do better. But I think I might have sent you the clip where I say
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle big
yeah.
time.
I didn't agree.
Yeah.
I didn't agree at the time. And I was like, nah, I think it's going to come good. I think that we're going to click. I said all this and I didn't agree with you, but you were very right. And I know you like hearing that. You were very right.
What's
Look,
it? What's
at
it?
the end of the
Mourinho
day,
does.
yeah,
Yeah, I knew I was
look
right.
how miserable. I just want everyone to think back to that 1920 COVID season, right? And how miserable everyone was under Graham Jones, right? Nobody liked the football. Nobody was really behind the team. We all were resigned to getting relegated. Let's be honest, we were at that point. And at this stage, December heading into Christmas, Rob Edwards is 1 point better off than Graham Jones was at this stage of that season. And considering we have players now on obscene wages compared to then, and how much we have spent on players and wages and what's come into the club from the Premier League season, that's atrocious.
Yeah, you raise a very good point, and it's one that I actually said in the podcast that recorded this morning at the Brickies. It's alarming, because we've assembled for us a relatively expensive team. Rob Edwards is the most backed manager in Luton history, and going back to what I was saying in July to you, he's on fraud watch. Simple
You
as.
did say it.
He is. I saw through the facades. And to be honest, what I'm seeing right now is, I'll say it because I've had a couple of whiskies. I'm seeing his post match interviews are quite sociopathic in the sense that he is literally just saying what he thinks we all want to hear. We
Mm.
wanted to hear him dig out the players weeks ago. The players needed digging out weeks ago, but we all know he's all love and hugs, and he's he's too nice. He's too nice to the players. He wants to be their mate. We need a coach. We need someone to put a rocket up their arses. That's what we
Oh yeah.
need. And he's
I
not the
did bring
guy
it
for
up,
that.
right? I
He's
just stop
he's
you there for
chummy
a minute.
chummy with them, mate.
I'll stop you there for a minute, right? I've been having a bit of a wind up. I've been uploading like just a picture of Nathan Jones without any context and things like that. And say what you will about Nathan Jones, right? That rocket would have gone up the arses. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have gone up the arses. Jones notorious for not wanting to be mates and wanting the players to do what it is he wanted to do. And he's an abrasive character, yeah, but at least all the players knew where they stood. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go back a little bit here. Edwards didn't change much from what Jones was doing when
No,
we
he
got promoted.
didn't. He didn't. But
He didn't.
if you say to someone, Rob Edwards didn't get us promoted, he got us promoted with Nathan Jones's tactics, it's triggering for a lot of the happy clappers. When in
Yeah.
reality, he came out. So, firstly, Mick Harford came out in the League One season saying the players managed themselves after Nathan Jones left, and
Yep.
then and then Rob Edwards came out, and I'll find the interview. Although I don't really use social media too much anymore. I don't even run the OK Football account anymore. We got JT and Oscar running it, but Rob Edwards said the same thing. The
Mm.
team run themselves,
I recall it.
essentially. Yeah.
I
I,
recall what you're talking about.
and it's Arsenal. Arsenal is the game where Rob Edwards changed he brought in his style of play, and it worked. It worked for 3 games. It worked for the entirety of January, was it? But you know what? Other teams, they have analysts, they have specialists in these things, and they identified it and they neutralized it within
Oh yeah.
45 minutes, essentially. They watched that game against Brighton. They knew exactly how we were going to play, and they neutralized it straight away.
I've
And
said,
yeah,
how many times have I said this season, yeah, on here, on this show and in general, that these teams have all week to just prepare for Luton Town because they know how we're going to turn up. They know how we're going to play. They just know it inside out. There's no surprises. And that's why we're silly in the regards when we play like Clark and Baptiste together, right? Because I don't think you can play those two players together. You've got to have a Nakamba. You've got to have a Kraus that's involved in the mix there to do the dirty work that they simply can't do. And the result is, as we've seen time after time after time, is you just get split straight down the middle.
yeah.
Just constantly split down the middle and then disaster. Look how it is unthinkable how many goals we have conceded this season compared to the season we went up.
Well, we conceded more this season than we have
It's
like in the
insane.
22-23 season. And long gone are the days of sweaty 1-0 away wins. Because every time a team attacks, it looks like we're going to concede. And,
It's worrying.
and to be honest, I see it getting pretty extreme towards the director's box at Swansea. Because you know what? Swansea going to come. They're going to have 75% possession. We're not going to be able to get near them. We might beat them 1
No,
0. I don't know. But we're not going to get near Swansea.
I'm worried. I am worried. It's easy for people to say. 15 years ago, we were at Hyde. We were playing Braintree, blah, blah. I get
Did
it.
you
Yeah.
ever get a burger from Braintree?
But the thing is, it's about where you're going. It's not about where you've been, really. It's about where you're going as a club. And we all were led to believe that this season we were going back to a challenge for the Premier League. That's what we were all led to believe by the club, the board, the players, how everyone was talking. They cannot then get angry at fans for being disappointed and jaded at this stage with what's been presented.
Oh, the club messed up, mate. Like Gary Sweet saying that and then chucking in that transfer window, which also I looked at an old video. I ranked it a 5 out of 10. And I think a 5 out of 10 would be very generous as well. Um, Kate says in the comments, in a few years we could be playing Hyde again. Well, you know what? Rob will still be under contract, won't he?
Yeah, the same as done in English football, mate.
What did
I
you
want to
make
quickly
of
touch
what
on
did you make
Nixon.
of that? What did you make of that Nixon news?
Surely, I know he can be a little hit and miss, Nixon, sometimes, but I've been led to believe from multiple different people and sources that it's 10 million. Like, to get rid of Edwards at this stage is going to be 10 million up. So when I saw that 1.5 million figure,
I think that's just
I'm
one
questioning
season.
it.
That's just one season, I reckon. I
Yeah,
reckon what I've heard is he's the highest paid person at the club, essentially, other than the
mm,
directors. He should be like 1.5 million equates to 10K a week. I've been led to believe he's on 30K a week. So
mm.
I reckon that's 1 year of his 3-year deal remaining.
it makes me think, right, that when the club stuck this deal together, they thought, oh, Rob's going to smash it in the Championship. He's going to be in demand. Someone from the Premier League's going to pop in and we're going
Yeah.
to get a nice bit of money from it. I'm sure, positive, that was the thinking behind it.
Yeah.
And it's right bitten us on the arse.
They
Let's
were
not.
look. I've looked back on my messages on the Discord as well because I actually discussed when the only two people that were pessimistic about Rob signing that 4-year deal, me and Luton Town fans. And now what I said on, by the way, Tyler, we'll get you on after Simon. Good having you here, mate. Just stay in the green room. We'll get to you afterwards. When I when it went on to social media, I didn't obviously put my thoughts on there because I was at that time with a previous a partner or whatever, what the former name of the podcast. So my remit was to be a happy clapper. So I didn't put my actual thoughts on social media. But if you want to see my thoughts, you can find them on Discord. And only myself and Luton Town fans were actually like, oh, wait a minute. What has he actually done to deserve this 4-year deal? And it's alarming. It really is.
Oh,
He
yeah.
deserved nothing to get a 4-year deal. He must have had years. It's like Cauley Woodrow's deal when we got promoted. What did Cauley Woodrow do to
I
deserve
know.
a new deal? He did nothing, mate.
No, I've had long thoughts about that Cordy Woodrow thing. And it all seems to come back to me as it's some kind of vanity project for the board. Like, it really is. It's like, oh, you'll be back here one day.
So yeah, that is my thought as well. Because in my role for Hatters Heritage as well, I've been going through old programs, and there's a great picture of him, Cauley Woodrow, a 17-year-old Cauley Woodrow with Dave Wilkinson in the program, and they're signing him to be a full-time apprentice or whatever it is, scholar. And I imagine the way I see it is he was the first significant player to be sold under 2020 from the youth academy. So I reckon Gary Sweet probably just said to him, "Not the last of you we're seeing," and they brought him back.
Yeah,
He's been
before,
absolute piss. He's been terrible, mate. So.
at
But
the
we're,
end
we're
of the
stuck with
day,
him now. He signs a new
yeah,
long-term deal. Not that we know.
Jesus.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we were led to believe as a fan base from everyone associated with the club that we would be competing with the likes of Leeds and Middlesbrough and all these teams who have absolutely turned us over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even just beat us, turned us over and had their way with us. We were told we'd be competing there. So 1-0 wins over teams like, no offense, Hull, who are just in even worse shape than us right
Mate,
now.
they were 19th. They were
Yep.
19th. Cardiff were 21st, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Like
But we just simply can't rely on teams being worse than us.
we're running out of teams worse than us.
I'm worried, and as I was saying the other day, I was asked by someone of another club what I think's going to happen, and I was like, well, either the club are just going to stick with Rob and just ride it out, even though it's now been going on for a very long time, or they're planning to spend a significant amount in January to try and right it. But the
No,
vibes I
mate.
get out the way the club
No.
talk is that that's not the plan.
Look, I'm seeing people here in the comments saying surely there's sort of a performance clause in there. So in the industry, that is known as a KPI, key performance indicator, and from the fact that the payoff is 1.5 million, the fact that we're only paying off 1 year of his contract, that suggests there is one. But I reckon Rob battered the eyelids. Gary probably absolutely loves Rob Edwards because he represents the club really well. Essentially, going back to what you were saying, Si, he's last season, Rob Edwards was bigged up by the media. massively, bigged up by the media.
Guardiola, Klopp, all of them blew smoke right up his ass.
Exactly. Essentially, and I think that has gaslit the board into thinking we got a hell of a manager. We got the hottest property of young English/Welsh manager, even though he's born in England. We got the hottest property here. We need to lock him down, have him sign whatever deal. We'll throw the checkbook at him, and we got done. And I reckon they've probably been a bit loose with the KPIs, key performance indicators. So we're stuck. We're stuck essentially. That's my thought on it anyway. What's your thought?
I wish I had the answers because I'm getting so pessimistic about things at the minute. Just because that's natural. When things aren't going right in the pitch, it rings through everywhere. No stone in the club is left untouched from it when it happens. But at the end of the day, something has got to be done to try and make it right, because you can't sack 23 players to make it right.
24. I believe the squad is 24.
It just doesn't work like that. It don't work like that. I think we need a jolt in the arm. I think we need a bit more of an authoritarian in to take control of the dressing room, which is young. We've got a fair few youngsters in that dressing room, and the older lot seem a bit at odds with themselves even. I saw Adebayo and Panzu it looked like they had a right row, but that could have just been in the game, in the moment. You can't really read too much into it in that respect. But we do lack leadership. We do lack that someone pulling people together and saying, stay the course, and something's got to give. And if the board aren't prepared to spend generously in January, then they do need to consider sacking Edwards.
What do you think? So if Edwards was sacked tomorrow, because there's been nothing from the club, so maybe there's an emergency board meeting. I'm hoping. Well, if he were to be sacked, who are you bringing in? Nathan Jones.
I post Jones up as a joke. I wouldn't even be against him coming back. I wouldn't.
It's not going to happen. He signed a 4-year deal at Charlton, mate. It's not going to happen.
I know that. I wouldn't be against it, but I would throw the kitchen sink at getting Robbins in. That's what I'd do.
Nah, but the thing is, and come on, you have enough Coventry fans following you. You should know this. So AD Vivash left last season, and Cover being rubbish since, because AD Vivash was essentially like the Paul Hart to the Nathan Jones. Or who was that guy that we had during the League One season that went off to Malta or something afterwards? I can't think of his name right now. He was Nathan's teacher during the FA coach course. But essentially having the tactical guru. I can't think of his name. It's going to drive me mad.
You'll find out after it ends.
Yeah, anyone putting it into comments, please just remind me who the assistant manager was after Paul Hart left in that League One season, because I remember Paul Hart left quite early. Essentially, Eddie Vivash is the tactics guy. Mark Robbins, I think his mum passed as well quite recently, so he might appreciate some time away from the game. I see a lot of it was Steve Rutter, that was it. Mark Rutter, there we go. Thanks guys, thanks. That was the guy. And he went off to Malta, if I remember correctly, to manage or assistant manage somewhere. He was the man. I think we went 6 months unbeaten under him. Essentially, most managers need that tactical guru. And under Rob Edwards, Richie Kyle is meant to be the guy, because he was the out of possession coach for England under 16s with Rob. But, you know what? We look trash. We look absolute trash out of possession. So I don't know what's even happening. I see a lot of people in the comments, everyone's saying Steve Cooper. For me, Steve Cooper is the only logical choice, because he's been in this position. He took Nottingham Forest from second bottom to the Premier League in one season through the playoffs. And he's
He
sort of
wouldn't
like
come
Nathan
cheap.
Jones. No, he won't come cheap. No, but you know what? You've got
And
to
I'm not being
speculate to
funny.
accumulate.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be against Cooper, but the board have just done this epic, colossal fuck up with the finances with the Edwards situation. Would they dip their toe in to what would be a very well paid Steve Cooper?
It's only 1.5 mil. And to be honest, Steve Cooper's down now. He got sacked at Leicester after only, what, 3 months? Like I was saying to Mark the Hatter privately, my first reaction to Rob Edwards signing the deal was actually, I guess that means we won't get Steve Cooper in. I was hoping Ipswich were going to take Rob Edwards. I was hoping because I thought, okay, in my mind, I was working it out as Ipswich take Rob Edwards, and then we get Steve Cooper. And then Steve Cooper went to Leicester. I was like, there's no one else that I would take right now. But Steve Cooper is the one because he knows how to set up a defence. He's a brilliant manager. And you know what? Like, I don't want to talk about his looks. I don't want to be like that. But you know what? When you look like that, you work harder. And essentially, when you look like Rob Edwards, you don't get treated the same way. Like good-looking people like me and Rob Edwards, we don't get treated the same way as everyone else, mate. Like, people just believe our bullshit. That's all I'm going to say.
It's a mess. That's all I do know, mate. It's a bloody mess. And something's got to change. And this has been the case since February. So I haven't got high hopes that it will happen anytime soon.
Oh, yeah. Any last thoughts? We haven't actually talked about Leeds or Norwich, but to be honest, they're best forgotten, right?
It's just same old.
Yeah.
Really, it's nothing happened in that match that hasn't happened to us countless times this season. What's the point in beating a dead horse?
Yeah. Look, the needle returns to the start of the song. We all sing along like before. It's the same shit. Different day. It's pathetic. The only difference is Rob Edwards is actually calling out players without calling them out. He's not going to go in and grab someone by the throat and slam them up against a wall, is he?
No,
and say, you were absolute piss today, mate. He's not going to do that. So, it's weird.
One last thing I want to put. One last thing. I've got one last thing I want to talk
and then we'll get Tyler on after you.
Last thing I'm going to bring up. Whoever's decision, if Rob Edwards' decision for protecting players, right, and his idea of protecting Reece Burke was to put him at right wing back, a physically demanding position, straight after he come back from an injury, and then acting surprised when Reece Burke gets injured, something is incredibly wrong inside the way the club deals with our medical issues. No doubt about it. That is just amateur and should be called out.
100%, mate, and you have just called it out. It's absolutely pathetic to think, Reece Burke, Mr. Groin, can handle a physically demanding right wing position where he's got to bomb up and down. He is a tremendous footballer, but I think I have a stronger groin than him. It's crazy, absolutely pathetic. To me, it reeks of someone that's trying to get the sack. Like, if he loved the club like he says he does, he'd walk away. He'd walk away because he would see that he's not helping and he cannot bring the goods to get us out of this shtup,
And before anyone accuses me of being a negative person, blah, 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 I have been behind Rob Edwards the whole way up until this week. This is the very first week I've said we need to change.
You're a massive happy clapper, mate.
It's the very first time. And I try to keep pretty neutral, but now you really would be burying your head in your sand if you don't think that something needs to happen.
You're a massive happy clapper, mate. You should go work at Walt because he'll take you.
I'll let someone else on get on now, Ollie. But it's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
good.
yeah. Cool. Catch your side, mate. Take
Look
care.
after yourself.
Right, that was Simon. Happy Clapper in Tom Lockyer we trust. And now I'm going to bring in Tyler from T Boys TV. If you are watching and you want to get involved, you want to have your say, please get involved. Really appreciate it. Right, so bring in Tyler. Good evening, Tyler. How are you getting on, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Yourself?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Yeah, I had a couple of whiskies. I've forgotten about Norwich and Leeds and whatnot. Not really thinking
It's
about
probably
it.
best you did that, to be fair, isn't it?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So, you went to? Did you go to Leeds as well as?
Yeah, I ended up
Yeah.
going to Leeds. I
Oh,
decided the
mate.
day. Well, someone I
Why?
know, he wanted me to go the day before. He
Mhm.
he, he was proper urgent for me to go. I wasn't going to go, and then he said, "Nah, come with us." So I did in the end, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it's just like mentioned, it's just the same old, isn't it? Really, every time a team goes forward against us, we look so vulnerable.
Mhm.
Where is that grit? Where is that determination? To defend well. Yes, we briefly saw it against Hull, but come on, like we shouldn't really be doing that against Hull at home. Let's be honest.
Mate,
You know
to be fair, Hull could have scored 3 goals against us. They had
exactly.
3 clear-cut chances.
Yeah, and I remember saying in my reaction and stuff on my channel, if we play a better team like we did with Leeds, they'll punish us.
Mhm.
Hull had golden opportunities, like say that goal, that diving header, didn't they, in the first half, and they should have really scored from that. So it's one of them where it was just against Leeds, it was terrible. We didn't even perform. It was like the Sheffield United away game. We just didn't turn up. And it's disgraceful, to be honest. Like it's just certain decisions as well. Even look at the game yesterday. Yes, the performance was slightly better compared to Leeds, but it's still not good enough. We're still getting caught out too easily. Anytime, like I say, someone goes forward, we look vulnerable, and it's just like, yes, it was individual mistakes, but again, Edwards, some of the decisions in the game yesterday, like why is Chong wing back? I don't understand.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
got done
he's
so hard as well for that their second goal.
And the thing I've said about Chong is I love how, direct he is in the sense of he'll drive at players, and, he's probably the only player that would really do that on our team.
He's the only
But at the
pace
same
in our
time,
team as well.
yeah, you're limiting him if you put him as a wing back, because you're limiting him to what he can do. And I've always said it, even last season, I felt a lot of games he got bodied off the ball a bit too easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only part of his game that I don't really think's great at this moment in time. Is the strength, and obviously yesterday, that's basic. You've just got to hold him off, really. But that was probably, I'll be honest, one of the worst performances I've seen from Bell in a Luton shirt. I think he was, the fourth goal, he just let the guy run.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment in the game where he's played it across goal. You learn that as a kid not to do that.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, I don't, and I can't remember if it's him or Mengi in the first half where we should have just played. Or I think it's the second half actually, where they just play it back to Kaminsky. I know he's a bit sometimes with distribution, but just do the safe thing.
I know
And then
what
we
you're
try playing
thinking
it.
about. That was Mengi. Mengi was trying
Yeah,
to beat 2 men at
yeah,
Norwich in our own box. But there was a moment from Bell where he played it across straight to the Norwich player, and they were in.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It happened a few times. I mean, yeah, again, Mengi, he was terrible yesterday as well, wasn't he? He was very. There's a moment where he had a little argument with Rob Edwards, but he was just rushing passes, and it weren't only him. We've been doing that, and we've done that a lot against Leeds the other day. Like we got a free kick, and Bell took it quickly, and it's like, what are you doing? Like that was that 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, well, why are we rushing things? Like, I don't understand what is happening right now. I really don't. I mean, it's just like we just haven't got that grit and that determination. Like them. Look at them away performances. The last time, that's just not there whatsoever. We're just so vulnerable, and even when we got the equaliser, I mean, like majority of people, especially around me, we were still nervous that we weren't going to win the game because just how vulnerable we are defensively.
Of course. Look, whenever we go ahead in a match, and it was the same at home against Hull, because I can't get into away games. They're far too expensive. When we were 1-0 up against Hull, it was a muted celebration because people were thinking, oh my God, when are we going to concede? This is going to happen. You know, obviously there's the initial joy. Yeah, we scored. But then it's the, oh my God, it's going to happen. We're going to concede. Is it going to be like in the next minute or is it going to be in the next 10 minutes? And that's the same away. You're playing Norwich. You're playing against, well, we didn't score against Leeds. Playing in Norwich, you just know it's coming. And the capitulation happens every single time. You set your watch by it.
Yeah, no, literally. And it's just like, you look at it as well. We're just so, I don't know, we're just all over the place. I mean, last couple of games, we've been so sloppy in possession as well. I think Morris is good at holding up the ball, but last couple of games, his passing
has
been awful.
What do you think's happened with Morris? Because this is a thing with Morris, like where he, how he chests the ball down, like he does that thing where he squeezes his arms together to sort of catch it on his chest, and it's like that's been replaced by a trampoline. Like the ball just bounces off him, and he's been going down trying to win fouls instead of actually playing football.
Yeah, I know. It's just like adapt. Like we've seen for a very long time. A lot of times he probably has got fouled. Let's be honest. But the recent games, not really. He's just going down too easy, and it's like we need. This is why I think we need another striker because yes, Taylor's actually come on surprisingly last two games, but going forward, he's not going to be at the club. Woodrow's just not good enough. So we need to get someone who's like direct. I mean, to a certain extent, you could say Brown is, but I feel we need more experienced one to help, predominantly Elijah and Morris, because that's what it will be. Brown will be in and around it, but it'll mainly be them two that start, won't it? So we just need that experience alongside him. Someone who's just got that experience, that know-how, knows how to, is very direct, because them two, we just try and lump it up to them. And it's just not working. The midfield, again, like mentioned earlier, I said myself, Nakamba or Krause should have started that game yesterday. I feel it's too attacking. It's an attacking-minded midfield away from home as well. It's worrying. We've done the same thing against Middlesbrough. I played a predominantly attacking, midfield, and we got punished. And Norwich did the same thing. It's just too easy for teams to get in behind against us, and you worry every single time.
Yeah. It's the inevitable, and that's 5 goals. 5 goals against Middlesbrough, 4 goals against Norwich, 3 goals against Leeds. So that's 12 goals in 3 games, 3 away games. It's not acceptable.
No, exactly.
Regardless of what level you're at. And we are one of the, I'd say, bigger teams. Like, we're not as big as the Leeds, we're not as big as the Middlesbrough, but we're certainly like, at the level of a Millwall. And Millwall haven't even had the benefit of like Premier League income. We're an absolute joke right now. We're a soft touch. And there are no easy games in the Championship except Luton Town right now. What would you do?
Well, for me, like I've been saying it. Obviously, there's just every single game, right? Rob Edwards, he does something that you just don't agree with. Yesterday, was it yesterday that was that Clark's first game back in, or was it the Leeds game?
No,
I can't even remember.
The Leeds game, he came straight in.
In the Leeds game, I was saying, he shouldn't be warranted a start to come back in after getting suspended because he's not been good. It's not like he's been one of our best players. Yes, he scored a couple of goals in that, but in my opinion, the goals have been a bit fluky. The Middlesbrough one, the keeper should have saved. The Watford one,
he had so much time for that Borough goal as well. No one was putting a foot in.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the Watford game as well. It was a lucky touch. Like, let's be honest. He's not been good enough. And the thing is, he can have good games in centre midfield, but that's more than last time we was in the Championship. This season, I thought he'd be a makeshift player like Ruddock has been. and I thought, the other players we've got in, obviously, yes, Walsh has got injured and stuff, but I thought they would play it more, especially Baptiste and McCamber, Krause, etc. But, it's just, you don't know what you're going to get from him in centre midfield. He's very hit and miss. Sometimes he'll have a decent game, but predominantly, when he's alongside, the game that always stands out to me is Plymouth, when he was in the midfield with Krause. It just felt like it was one in midfield in Krause. It was just like, he just shouldn't be starting as much as he has. You even look at, yes, I know a few people have said about Kaminsky on the first goal. If you actually look back at it, I think, when the balls bounce before they've got the shot away, I think Clark's got to be doing better there, personally. And again, a lot of players just didn't. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. Really, I can't put my. Well, I can. It is the individual mistakes, but at the same time, as much as yes, that did cost us yesterday. All the goals we conceded were terrible. The fourth one's not even been marking signs. Who's been doing what he's doing this season? It's just crazy, and it was inevitable that he was always going to score. Especially with his goal scoring record this season, this career high for him. So it's just like, what are we doing? I just don't understand where that grit and that determination is. And even there was a moment in the game yesterday where, Kaminsky was going to play it short, and Morris actually come over and said, "No, play it long." Like, why? I don't like this short goal kicks, and I'm sure a lot of people are the same, because I feel you're just inviting pressure.
Yeah.
It's like, even when I was watching, even though they're not on great form at the moment, Man City earlier away at Anfield, passing it round the back. I'm like, what are you doing? Seriously, it's just, I just think you're inviting pressure onto yourselves doing that. And that's not what we're known for doing either. So it's just frustrating, really. And again, I think a lot of it does have to come down to the tactics and the decisions. Yes, there was individual mistakes, but he's still got to take part of the blame, I feel. Putting Chong in left wing back and stuff like that, you're limiting him to do what he's, better at.
Well said. Well said. Thank you very much, Tyler, for joining us. Really appreciate it, mate.
No worries. Thank you for bringing me on.
No worries. So that was Tyler from T-Boys TV. I recommend check out his channel. He does watch-alongs. He does vlogs. It's very good. And we've had him on the Luton Town show and the Champ Chat a couple of times. He's great. He's great. So check out his channel. If anyone else wants to call in, please do. The link is it's pinned to the top of the chat. Let's have a read of some comments. So new manager shouts, and it's interesting here. So a few for Steve Cooper. But Mike Kilby says, what about, Damien Duff doesn't want to leave Ireland until his kids have finished school. I think that's really nice. Jonas Eidval, former Arsenal ladies, would be an interesting option. He's notoriously tough on his players. I don't know if tough on players would be a good shout, to be honest, because, players are quite snowflakey these days. You got to treat them carefully. It depends how notoriously tough he is. Kate says, I would have sold everyone in the summer and cashed in while stocks are high. Well, to be honest, that's what Sheffield United did, didn't they? And it quite works. But a lot of these yo-yo teams, they sort of know what they need to do, because you get rid of the players that are like passengers, and then you sell them, you recoup some of the fee. Maybe the fees weren't high enough for what 2020 thought, but you know what? They're going to be sky high compared to what we're going to be getting next summer or in January. We need hungry young players. And also thanks, Kate, for pushing Tyler's channel in the chat. Yeah, everyone, go subscribe to that. It's top. It's top. Right, but come on, guys. Let's get someone in. I know Ryman's not here, but I'm happy to listen to you. Otherwise, I'm going to end up singing The Wellerman by I don't know who. But, if I don't get anyone else in a minute, I'm just going to have to keep talking, and I'll end up singing The Wellerman. And no one wants to hear me sing. So it's just a song that's been stuck in my head for a long time, because My daughter runs my YouTube music, and she's absolutely ruined my algorithm. Absolutely ruined my algorithm with all her, you know, well, fake pirate sea shanties and Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. So like I listen to like 90s and noughties metal, and now my algorithm is just on the floor. It's disgraceful. Um, so I was driving this morning to record the Luton Town show at the Brickies, and I put my mix on, and it just it was just all the stuff that my daughter listens to. It was horrendous. So, got to retrain that algorithm. But come on, if anyone wants to jump on, otherwise I'll have to close up this call in, or I'll have to sing the Wellerman because I just need to get it out of my head. So come on, let us know in the chat. Are you going to jump in, or am I going to close up this chat or sing the Wellerman? Is it Wellerman or Wellerman? I don't know. Wellerman kind of sounds like a dentist, doesn't it? This is tough by myself, Normally I have Ryman to fill the awkward silences. Yeah. Well, let us know in the comments if you want me to sing the Wellerman or Wellerman. Hasser Dave says, I think a big part of the problem is a lot of the players wanted their big move in the summer. Historically, we would sell for a fraction of what they're worth. I get a feeling Rob blocked their moves, and now there is resentment. That's an interesting one because it was reported by Fabrizio Romano that Ted and Mengi had actually agreed personal terms at Torino, but what I've heard, and it's sort of been confirmed by Jim Cunliffe, the Lutonian journalist on the LTST pod, that Torino were trying to loan Ted and Mengi with an option of a fee, which, you don't want that, because with an option, you're not, there's no definite possibility that they're going to take that obligation of signing the player. And you can see it from Ted and Mengi's attitude. Sometimes, to quote one of my daughter's favourite songs, he's hot and he's cold. He's yes and he's no. He's in and he's out. He's up and he's down. He's not fully there. You can let me know who sings that song. I think that's Katy Perry, actually. He's not there. He's not all there. And that is the problem, and maybe that is resentment. But then what do we do in January? We can't exactly get rid of him, can we? I don't want to loan him without the option of actual money coming in. But whether we were going to get like 10 mil for Elijah Adebayo in the summer, that's gone. That's gone. I don't think anyone's going to be looking for Elijah Adebayo at 5 mil. 10 mil, we're definitely not 10 mil, maybe if we're lucky 5 mil, which is funny because that is what DC United offered us in the summer before we got promoted to the Premier League, if you remember that one. Right. Well, no one else is coming on, so here's the Wellerman. No, this is not the Wellerman. I'm going to wrap this up. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel. Why not? We have lots of Luton Town content. We do match previews. We do a live show at the Brickies. It's a lot of fun. It's just a generalised chat about Luton Town. I think that's going to be dropping tomorrow. And we have opposition views, which are in our big match preview. We also do championship content. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And I guess we'll see what happens. This is a big week, right? Will they, won't they? Will they sack him? Won't they sack him? I'm speaking to the people that I know, and I will hopefully get an answer about any noise that I hear. And I won't be posting it to social media, but I'll be talking about it on the Discord. So join the Discord. And Kate has said, yes, 3 p.m. tomorrow for the Luton Town show. It was a fun one. We had a bit of a moan. But, yeah, everyone, have a great evening. And come on, you Hatters.